It's Thursday in Tryon, North Carolina, and we spent 6 hours with a 5-year-old. That was quite an experience, not having had one that young in our house for quite a while. Their energy is incredibly good, and we had a good time. But you can see a little sun because we're floating around in the lake and staying cool and doing a little bit of everything with the young man. And some good friends from our Taylor's, South Carolina. We're continuing in Proverbs 6. We looked at the 7 things that God hates, and had an interesting comment from one of our viewers that said that the way I feel about licorice is the way she feels about malted milk balls, for pretty much the same reason. So maybe you've got some stories you want to tell me too. About overindulging in something and then getting to a place where you didn't like it anymore. In any case, today we start in verse 20, where again reminds us that the principles of Proverbs are to teach us the path of righteousness, and that the first 9 chapters are for youth, young people. And it's reminding us in verse 20, my son. And he says, my son, observe the commandments of your father and do not forsake the teachings of your mother. What a blessing it is if you are Christian parents, or you had Christian parents where your father taught you righteousness and your mother taught you godliness. What a wonderful thing it is when there are 2 parents who are Christian and teach and instill those principles to their children. But many of us were not raised in Christian homes, and we didn't have that teaching. We didn't have those commandments taught to us, and the righteous teachings of a parent. Reminds us how important it is. And as I watched the Christian grandparents of this 5-year-old and the influence of Christian parents on this 5-year-old, it's quite an interesting thing to see how much impact that has on a child. In any case, and after verse 20, it says, bind them continually to your hearts. Bind them continually to your hearts. Not only hear them, but apply them and keep them close to the very center part of who you are. And tie them around your neck to remind you that this is the way to righteous living. What are the results? Well, it says clearly in verse 22, then you will walk by them, and they will guide you, and you will sleep, and it will watch over you. And even when you wake, they'll be talking to you. I remember a story that was told by the chaplain of Bourbon Street when he went to sleep one night and had a dream that didn't belong in a Christian's mind, and got out of bed in the middle of the night, dropped to his knees, and asked God's forgiveness that he had allowed his mind to have that kind of a dream. And his wife woke up and said, what are you doing? He said, I'm praying, asking God's forgiveness for a dream I just had. And his wife said, well, tell me, what was the dream? And he says, no, I won't tell you. She said, well, why not? He said, well, you'll forgive me, but you won't forget. And so we can realize that if we have the things of God impressed in our minds, and we tie them, bind them tightly to our hearts, we'll not likely have those kind of dreams, and we'll not likely have to ask for forgiveness, because they will guide us when we walk, and they will guard over us and keep us on the path of righteousness. Verse 23 says, these commandments will be a lamp unto us, and the teachings will be a light. Remember, in the light there is no stumbling, but in the darkness of evil there is lots of stumbling. And it reminds us again that reproof for discipline should be a way of life, and it'll keep us from doing evil and keep us from doing those things that are wrong. Reproof is not something that we want to receive, but reproof is good for us. When people call us on our sins and on our thinking when they're wrong, it is a good thing for us, and it becomes a light onto our sins and reveals those things that need to be changed. Even pastors continually need reproof. And many times I have shared with the congregation or other pastors when I told them about a lesson I learned from the scriptures, I say, God stomped all over my feet first. And now it's my turn to share it with you, because reproof is good for us. Reproof is like a light, and it is good for our discipline. That's your thought for the day. God bless you and have a great day.